Tetris is one of the most iconic games of all time, and easily the most famous puzzle game ever made. While many Tetris games have been released over the years, one of the most famous versions of the game is still the original Game Boy version released at the system's launch in 1989. While this one is still more than playable today, it is missing some of the quality of life features that are present in newer iterations of the series, making it a bit more difficult to get into if you're used to more modern Tetris. However, what if I told you that you could get the best of both worlds? What if I told you that you could get it on a Game Boy ROM? Enter Tetris Rosy Retrospection, a ROM hack that does just that. So I'm going to break down the things that stand out the most about this hack, because once you start playing this hack, it's hard to go back to the original game. It may be the best ROM hack I've ever played. To get things started, you do need the original game ROM as well as the patch file. If you use the UPS patch file for this hack, you can use romhacking.net's online patching tool to patch your original ROM. I'll have links to the hack and the patching tool in the description below. It's pretty simple to get set up though. When you first start up this hack in an emulator or on a flash cart, it just looks like regular Tetris in the title and the menus. As soon as you get beyond the menu and into the game though, you will notice some major differences right away. So on the bottom right corner of the screen, you can see not just your next Tetramino, but the next two after that. How they managed to redo the screen layout to fit that in is quite impressive if you ask me. An even bigger change is that you can now hold a piece for later use by pressing select. This is not as awkward as you might think it would be, even on real hardware. This is the change that I like the most as more of a casual player who got into the series via Tetris DS in 2006. Speaking of newer Tetris entries, another thing that we've had in the series for a while now that is present in this hack is hard drops. In the old game, you had to keep holding down to make a piece drop faster. In the earlier levels where the speed of the game is slow, this is a bit tedious. Having hard drops is a welcome addition for sure, to not just get pieces down faster, but to make faster decisions later on when the speed does pick up. Another thing you may notice right away is the shadow piece, also known as the ghost piece. This allows you to preview how a Tetramino will fit before it lands in real time. This is a common feature in modern Tetris games, and it is a great quality of life feature for less experienced players. One important note is that the ghost piece is harder to see if you're using the default Game Boy Color palette, whether you're on a real Game Boy Color or even an emulator. This is because yellow doesn't stand out that well on a white background. If you're on a DMG or Game Boy Pocket playing this hack with an EverDrive, or an emulator with a palette that imitates these models, this isn't going to be an issue. While the changes I've discussed so far are the most obvious ones, there are other smaller changes that do have an impact on the gameplay for the better, even if they're more subtle. The first one is the way that blocks are generated. The RNG for this has been toned down and is more comparable to modern Tetris. In the original Game Boy version, it felt like you would have to wait a while sometimes to get the right pieces you wanted. In this hack, it feels like the distribution is more evenly balanced, giving you more opportunities to get a straight Tetramino. Another change is that lock delay is a thing now. In the original game, once your piece landed, it was locked into place, meaning you couldn't rotate it anymore. Now you get a small window of time to adjust your piece right before it locks for good and the next one starts dropping down. Next, the field of play is extended by 4 invisible lines. What this means is that once the pieces start piling up and you're about to die, you've got more room to maneuver instead of being screwed once the blocks get near the top. This gives you more of a chance to save yourself in some bad situations, while the original is less forgiving in this regard. There are other changes as well, like awarding spin clears and the fact that delayed auto shift is faster here. This means that you can get pieces to move left or right faster whenever you're holding a direction as a piece is spawning. Lines clear faster as well in terms of the animation, which is quite nice and keeps the pace up. Overall, there are a lot of changes here that come together to create an excellent update to the original game. Ozpin, the creator of this hack, deserves a lot of credit for squeezing so many changes into a small game like this. There is one more cool thing about this hack that has to be discussed, and it is the fact that there is also a color version of this hack nowadays. Last year, Creepercraft, another ROM hacker, released Rosy Retrospection DX, a hack intended to convert this into a Game Boy Color game. Your mileage may vary with this one, but this is definitely an interesting addition. Personally, when it comes to color hacks of old Game Boy games, I don't find this one as essential as some of the other ones out there, like for example, the one for the original Kirby's Dream Land, or Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge. It's not the same color palette as Tetris DX either, which some people may prefer over this. The blue background grew on me quite a bit as I was playing it, which I didn't expect to happen. The rocket scene looks great in my opinion in color. The one real gripe that I have here is that if you're holding a straight line Tetramino, light blue does not stand out well against white. However, I do think it's cool that a color patch for the hack exists. You do need to apply the original Rosy Retrospection patch before applying the DX patch, but once you do both, you're good to go. Before I go, I do want to talk briefly about the recent developments regarding romhacking.net. This is where I originally discovered this hack, like a lot of other hacks that I know about. Sadly, the site is no longer active as of August 1st, 2024. The site is now read-only, and while you can still download stuff, no more new hacks or translations are being released. All the hacks that are still on the website are also now available on the Internet Archive as one giant download, so the hacks should still be preserved in the long run. That being said, this is disappointing and quite a surprise to me and a lot of other people. I hope the community comes together in order to quickly produce a spiritual successor where new ROM hacks and translations can be promoted and released. Rest in peace, romhacking.net. But anyways, Rosy Retrospection is an amazing hack of the original Tetris on Game Boy. I think for the majority of players, this hack will be preferable to the original. To me, it plays a bit faster and feels a bit more modern overall. It's kind of hard for me to go back to the original now that I've spent quite a bit of time with this version. But what do you think? Have you played this hack yet? Are you a big Tetris fan? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you again soon.